Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Watson Michael from Ceylon Institute of English and Leadership. And once again, we're honored to have Mark Greene back with us. Right, so I haven't mentioned about it before. So now, initially dropping out of college and sustaining an injury that derailed his dreams of playing professional football. So Mark went on to become a Navy SEAL and completed two master's degrees. So now he travels as an author and speaker, sharing with audiences ranging from students at USC to veterans in Virginia. Also, his greatest joy is being a dad to four beautiful children. So, Mark, author of Unsealed, welcome back to part three. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, Watson. How are you? Thanks you for the great introduction.
I'm doing well and good to have you back. So, Mark, now a transition period can be tough, especially without a job. What is your message for someone going through a transition period?
So, because transitions are so challenging, we tend to forget how valuable we are, or how many skills we've acquired over a lifetime, even if it's a short right out of university, or if you've been in the military or entrepreneur, you've acquired a lot of skills that are valuable. And really, what I would recommend is market yourself in a way that highlights your skills and translate it, make it translatable. Because um for example, my career, I was a sniper, right? But I can't go to an employer and say, hey, I'm Mark Greene, I have an MBA and I have a master's in public policy, and I'm a sniper. They're one going to say, well, I don't know what that means. What does a sniper
Mm,
bring to the table? And it's so much more about just, hey, I can shoot a bullet a long way. It's your goal oriented, you're purpose driven, you are going to make sure that the job is completed correctly. You can work great as an individual, but you can also excel as you can also thrive in a team, and you have leadership abilities that are unique. So instead of saying I'm a sniper, use all the attributes that go into becoming a good sniper, right? So those five attributes that I just talked about are very valuable to employers. And I think that so many people are unaware of the skill set they have, and then they're unaware of how to communicate that skill set um, to an employer, or if you're an entrepreneur, to a customer or somebody who wants to buy your product.
yeah, so but the most important thing is you are a SEAL, okay, which many people dream of, but it's very difficult to become a SEAL. Okay, now how were you affected mentally when you became unsealed, when you lost the military benefits and figuring out what to do for approximately 4 years?
hmm so I had to abandon everything that I knew as a SEAL, right? Turn off emotion. If you're accomplish your mission. If anybody asks if you're good, say yes, I'm good, and I can accomplish this mission on my own, right? I don't need my team around me to accomplish this. However, as you're transitioning, at this point, you have to tap into something that you've probably forgotten, which is vulnerability. I had to, and luckily, in the environment at University of Southern California, the gentleman who introduced me to that amazing campus, his first thing he said was, Mark, how do you feel about retiring and starting your new career? And because I didn't have a filter and I wasn't expecting the question, I was very honest and said, I'm terrified. I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm good at. I don't speak the language anymore. I am suffering from traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic things. So that level of vulnerability showed him that, hey, this kid needs help. And he just happened to be in a position to not only offer that help, but financially, he was able to facilitate different meetings and integrate me into his network, which I think that's the most valuable gift he gave me. It was introduction into his network and to see the world from a different perspective and see how valuable you can be. But I had to really abandon all the things that made me excel in the SEAL teams, and I had to abandon that, like I said, and just be vulnerable and say, "Hey, look, I need help. Be it I need help on figuring out a network. I need help on how to market myself, to talk to millionaires or even higher. Um, and I don't have those skills. I have the attributes I need to excel at those things, but I don't know what I'm doing. So please help." And that was a completely different than the 20-year career that I had, where I was an expert. I was at the top of my game militarily. I was a subject matter expert in several different things, and I was very competent and very confident in my skills. But with taking away that community, one day I'm Mark Greene, the Navy SEAL, and then the next day I'm just Mark, um, with no direction. So I really had to figure out how to survive in my new permanent world again, because I'm never going back to being a SEAL again, and I'm never going back to the comfort and support of the military.
Yeah, very true. Because every day you might not be in the same position. Okay, so it's a bent road. They say the road to success is always under construction, right?
Right?
So
Yeah.
yeah. So what have you learned by becoming a father?
Uh, being a father is the best. I've had such a great experience as a father. I've made so many mistakes, right? But I always approach it with your main focus with your kids is equip them to be independent and thrive in the world that they're getting ready to enter. And I really celebrate their journey. Some parents are like, You must follow the footsteps that I created for you." But to watch my kids grow and figure out life and to um, step out on their own and make their own mistakes. And the best gift I had was my kids will be under a lot of stress, right? And at 2 in the morning, they'll call me and say, "Dad, I don't know how to figure this out." And it doesn't matter. Whenever they call, I always answer and say, "Okay, talk me through what's going on." And first of all, I have to calm them down because they're usually in a panic of some kind because they're calling because of an emergency. And it's like, okay, just remember what I taught you always. Take a couple deep breaths. Let's figure out the problem, and then let's figure out a way to solve it. But the kids, my kids help me maintain my youth. I laugh so much with them, and I share so much of my life with them, and I can be just a nerd of a dad a lot, and it doesn't matter because I'm just their goofy dad. But they're brilliant and they're fun and they're funny, and they have so much potential, and I open myself up to learning from them, right? Because they're in a new generation that I sometimes struggle communicating with, and they teach me how to communicate in ways that they understand that's different than how I grew up. Um, not no less valuable. It's just a different way of communicating. You have to reach them a different way, and you have to connect with them in a different way that is usually uncomfortable for a man of 53 now to talk with 18 to 22-year-olds, right? It's a different language, but I learned so much from them now. So now they're teaching me. The roles are now reversed.
Yeah, wow, interesting. Okay, so I know you might be 53, but if you clean shave, I don't think you will look 53. Okay.
I know, right? Yeah, I need to shave the next time so people can see that.
Yeah, you will look pretty much younger than your age. Okay, right. So I mean, I like the bond between the father and the kids. Right. It reminds me of this cartoon. It was very popular in the US and worldwide. I think 1996 or somewhere around that period. It was released. The Goofy movie, right? Goofy and his
Uh-huh,
son
uh-huh.
Max.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a super cartoon, and it's very emotional. It brings the dad and the son never get along, but finally they get along very well,
Hmm.
right? So that's a good one. When you said that, when you were speaking about your kids, I just remember that. Okay, right, great. So how is your book going to help someone to become a 2.0 version of him or herself?
So I want to open people's eyes up to they are better equipped with their transitions than they think, right? So many transitions come with struggle and failure sometimes. And I show in my book that I had to embrace failure in order to succeed. Just because I was knocked down doesn't mean I was defeated, right? I just had to figure out how to solve this problem in a different way. And that's what I want people to take away, that you don't have to be a SEAL to be successful. Um, I just chose a different path, right? Doesn't mean I'm smarter or tougher than anybody. I just chose this very difficult path in the military and I happened to succeed, but the building blocks are still the same. Yeah. Somebody goes to school to be an engineer, that's a remarkable accomplishment. And or somebody says, "Hey, I'm going to go be the best parent I can be," or "I'm going to be an actor or an author," or whatever your endeavor is, getting to the top of that craft takes perseverance, time, dedication, failures, everything that I had to go through to become a SEAL. Everybody has to go through those trials and setbacks before they become an expert or they become a master of their craft.
Yeah, my goodness, talking about that, it's great. When I read the couple of books I read and going through the Hell Week, my goodness, I don't know how these guys passed it. Right, I think roughly 45 minutes of sleep for a day, right? So my goodness, okay,
Yeah, it's terrible. And it's cold also.
yeah, I mean, like, oh my goodness, all right, right. So now, some say life is not like a movie. Okay, some only say like that, but there are ups and downs in life. Okay, sometimes life can be like a lifetime or Hallmark movie, not fully, just partly, okay, bits and pieces, right? And being in the comfort zone is a disaster.
Hmm.
People might not feel it at the beginning, but as time goes on, it can be different. What are your views on that?
About being in your comfort zone.
Yeah, about being in your comfort zone and like how we can evolve ourselves from your experience.
So when I was in my comfort zone, I was usually failing at something, or I was not giving my 100%, right? And so I just went just hard enough to be average. And I think that's what comfort builds complacency, and complacency builds mistakes, and mistakes leads to failures, which can end your career. Or in my case, if I got complacent, then one of my team members could die, right? So when I got my job, the current job that I have now, one of the reasons they hired me is I said I'm okay being uncomfortable learning this new skill. And I said, I'm going to suck at it. I'm not going to be good, but I'm going to keep driving and thriving so I can uh, master this new career. And my boss, I've been working there for 4 years. He's like, that's why I hired you, because you said, hey, I don't know what I'm getting ready to get into. I know it's going to be uncomfortable and I'm okay with it.
Yeah, because the seals, they are comfortable by being uncomfortable. Okay.
Yeah, it's life. It's your if you're comfortable as a SEAL, then you're doing everything wrong. You know, every part of it's just miserable sometimes, and it's under some of the hardest conditions, especially being everything is in the water. So, that builds on a different level of complexity than what a soldier has to do, because the ocean is unforgiving. If you make a mistake, then you die, or if you don't pack the right way, or your gear floods with water, and then it's useless, right? So you have to have so much respect and reverence for the ocean and the power of nature, and how one mistake is often fatal out there. So um, it's a different animal, right? So you have to train, and the selection process has to be so rigorous, because um, when you're out in the ocean, a lot of times nobody's coming to get you, because
Mm,
um, there's so many dynamics to that environment that
yeah.
um, you have to be self-sufficient. You have to rely on your teammates in a different way than you have to when you're just walking. You can't drown walking uh, walking through the desert or wherever we operate on land. However, drowning, you plan for drowning whenever we go out. So it's like, hey, here's what happens if um, you lose your life preserver. Here's your backup. And here's what happens if your things flood. You always have redundancy. Um, two is one and one is none, is what we always say. So you have to pack in that redundancy, because life is so unforgiving.
Mm,
When you put water of any kind into the equation.
yeah. Interesting. Okay. So now, being an author, are you open to feedback, right? And if you, I mean, like, so how do you handle if there are critics?
So I'm new at being an author, so I welcome all the criticism. But when I worked with Shelby, um, she and I worked through the writing process, and I was an academic writer, right? You had to write a thesis for your MBA, and you had to write a thesis for your master's in public policy. So it's very different writing. So I had to learn how to talk to my audience and not talk at my audience. And so when we finally refined everything, I had learned a completely different way to write. Um,
Okay.
but the critics are going to be there. Somebody's going to say, "Well, that book sucked. I would rather read something about um, a different author, what they put out." And my message is not going to be for everybody, and that's okay. As long as it reaches the right person. But I think criticism is necessary for growth. So I welcome the criticism, but if it's not productive, then it doesn't mean anything. So there's a very, very sweet spot to where the criticism is meaningful, right? So,
Mm,
hey, Mark, try this next time, because you had me. I love this story, and you could have expanded on it so much more. And here's how you could have expanded on it. So now I've just learned something, right? But if somebody says your book sucked and you're a terrible writer, I can't go anywhere with that. I can't learn from that. So I'm very open to criticism, and
mm,
I the things that are critical, that are meaningful, that I take notes on that and say, okay, here's how to
mm,
approach this problem different. But then that criticism makes me go do research and reach out
mm,
to somebody with expertise and say, hey, I didn't do well on this, and you do exceptionally well in this area. How do I get better? So the next round I handled this critique point in ways that um, helped me improve.
Wow. Okay. Now that's good, right? So because we can't please everybody.
Right.
Okay. At some stage there is going to be some sort of criticism, right? So
Hmm.
we will have to do what is best, but we will also have to keep learning, right? So
Right.
I like your response, Mark. Okay, great. And we come to the final part. So any message to our viewers and listeners out there?
Yes, embrace your being uncomfortable. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to struggle as you learn a different skill. It's okay to make mistakes. Just don't make the same mistake twice, you know. And Thomas Sowell, one of my favorite authors, said, equip yourself with skills that people are willing to pay for. So when you're going to university and you can say, hey, I can have this really easy major, or I can look at the marketplace and say, okay, I'm going to best be served in IT or as an engineer or as a doctor or as a lawyer. Equip yourself with skills that people are willing to pay for. And guess what? There's a struggle attached to that achievement. Um, you're going to have to study probably more than the sociology student or the the English major, or it's just a
Hmm,
different curriculum, but the rewards and dividends are going to be worth that effort. All right.
true.
I could have said, hey, I just want to be the best sailor that I could be and be happy with that. But I said, you know what? There's a pinnacle here, and I'm willing to go through that struggle to reach that pinnacle and achieve that goal. And then when I went to get my MBA, I didn't want to get an MBA. I wanted to go for a different curriculum that a lot of
Hmm,
special operations guys go to. But the lady who gave me my job said, "Hey, you're going to be more valuable with an MBA once you get out of here. So I'm going to put you in the MBA curriculum, and you're welcome." And I was so frustrated because I was not prepared to get an MBA. I flunked out of college, right? And then I graduated with a criminology degree, which is a good degree, but not an MBA, right? So I was learning economics and marketing and finance and statistics at the graduate level as my first exposure to it. So I was extremely uncomfortable. I hated every minute of it until I figured it out. I was like, wait a second, I'm starting to understand this. All these hours of studying, the light bulb went off, and I was like, okay, I get it now. And I got an outstanding thesis award. And as I'm going across the getting my diploma, and said Mark Greene earned his MBA and he graduated with honors with an outstanding thesis award. So instantly, the year and a half of perseverance and struggle and being uncomfortable and angry and frustrated and um, out of my comfort zone all ended up paying off because I just stuck with it, right? And the same thing with being a SEAL, same thing with being a parent. You know,
yeah,
raising four kids is a struggle,
of
and
course.
yeah, and it's not rewarding all the time. Your kids are not great people. Sometimes they make their mistakes and they don't
Hmm,
appreciate the sacrifice you've given them until they get to an age and they say, "Oh gosh, Dad, I'm so sorry about
hmm,
what I did when I was this young." And it's like, it's okay, you learn from it. And I just stuck with it. And even though you were challenging, watching you struggle sometimes was painful because you needed to learn this lesson on your own. I wasn't going to
hmm,
let my kid fail, but I was going to let them, struggle and figure it out and figure out a new approach to solving problems, because that's where they're going to learn the most. And I'm not always going to be there to help them. So I
hmm.
have to equip them as much as I can in the very short amount of time. 18 years is not a long time when you're raising kids, and all of a sudden they're off to college. My daughter lives in France. My son's getting ready to graduate university. I have a daughter
Hmm.
that just started university, and I have a young daughter still in high school, right? And
Wow.
they're off living their own lives now. And because they're successful, I am proud of their success, but I only laid the foundation for their success. They had to do the
Hmm.
work. Yeah.
Wow. So that's one perfect story, right? And I mean, it's pretty nice, right? The way you articulated it, Mark, it's pretty nice. Okay, should
Yeah, I'm very proud of my kids. They're inspirational all the time.
and you're an inspiration to many people out there, especially with your book Unsealed. Okay, so somebody who wants to go into who wants to open a new chapter or go to a different version like a 2.0, it's going to help them a lot. So, Mark, thank you very much for taking time and doing this podcast with us.
Absolutely, Watson. Thanks so much for the invitation. I know it took some time to finally get to episode 3, but we made it. So,
We made
um,
it.
yeah, thanks for being patient with me with all the changes.
Yeah, that's fine. All good.
And please let the audience know that the Kindle version's only 99 cents, less than a coffee.
Absolutely. We'll do that.